on her first visit to Australia. She has sprung into the history books as, some would say, one of the greatest gymnasts of all time. I would say the greatest gymnast ever.
Simone Biles has redefined what the human body can achieve, breaking records and performing skills few gymnasts would ever attempt. For years, the world viewed her as almost superhuman, a symbol of perfection, courage, and unstoppable determination. But behind the medals and breathtaking routines lies a far more complicated truth. What happens when even the greatest athlete reaches limits that talent and willpower cannot overcome? Beneath every flawless landing are hidden sacrifices, physical strain, and emotional battles. This is the story of the painful reality behind greatness, and the true cost of becoming a legend. The hidden weight of greatness. Simone Biles is widely seen as a symbol of physical perfection and mental toughness, someone who defied what was thought humanly possible. Yet behind every astonishing landing and flawless routine lies a profound, hidden burden few have glimpsed. It's a truth that doesn't come from medal counts or highlight reels, but from the quiet, relentless toll her body and mind have carried for decades. The world knew her as invincible, but that image was only one side of a complicated story. For years, Simone's extraordinary abilities created a narrative of someone almost beyond human limits, an unbreakable athlete who seemed immune to the struggles that slow others down. People watch her vaults with awe, marveling at the height, the twist, and the precision, assuming such effort would come without cost. But every moment of greatness comes with its own price, and Simone's is heavier than most could imagine. The real story is less about the record-breaking moves and more about the price tag attached to each of them. Her achievements created an illusion, a myth of endless strength. The public saw medals, not muscle tears. The cameras caught victories, not moments when she wished she could stop but had to keep going. Simone's body has been pushed to extremes few ever endure, and the cost was quietly accumulating beneath the surface. The tension between the invincible figure the world idolized and the fragile human underneath is where the true tragedy begins. Her story challenges the idea that talent and willpower alone can protect against breakdowns. It asks a bigger question: how much strain can a human body and spirit truly endure before it reaches a limit? Simone wasn't the only one with a breaking point, but hers received a spotlight unlike any other. This story will reveal the unseen burdens she carried for years before they finally became impossible to ignore. For years, the world watched Simone pull off feats that almost looked superhuman, but nobody really saw the little, private wars she fought with wounds that couldn't be seen. The intense training schedules, the relentless pressure to keep looking perfect, and the mental struggles meant to stay out of public view all stacked up over time. Behind those bright smiles and the jaw-dropping routines was a nervous system pushed to the very edge. The strain she carried was not just physical, it was also psychological, like both sides of one thin chain, tightly connected. This tension, this quiet struggle, isn't only Simone's, but it gets even louder when you consider the expectations built around her as the best in the world. The higher you climb, the harder it becomes to admit that the ascent is starting to hurt. Simone's path shows, in a very painful way, how elite athletes exist inside a world that wants brilliance yet often forgets to count the cost of keeping it. The times when the facade finally cracked, those moments say more than any medal tally ever could. The distance between perception and reality is, in its own way, a tragedy. Like if greatness is talked about as if it means invulnerability, then the struggle ends up kind of unseen, or it gets dismissed too easily. Simone's story makes you face the awkward truth that even the most decorated champions have boundaries, and sometimes those boundaries bring consequences nobody really forecasts. Her path, somehow, will nudge how we understand strength, and also how we understand vulnerability. None of it was obvious to the outside world for a while, maybe too long. Simone's brilliance, it sort of masked the messy complexity of what she was enduring. The full weight of what carrying greatness actually means didn't really come to light until much later, when the only real option was to step away from the spotlight. What's under that spotlight is what we'll uncover next, including how a girl with tough beginnings managed to rise and shift her sport, and what her route suggests about the real price of being the best. These layers beneath the medals and records hint at a deeper story, one that begins long before international fame and Olympic gold medals. Simone's past and early years reveal the roots of both her incredible resilience and the challenges she had to overcome to even reach the heights she did. A future champion's humble start. Simone Biles was born in Columbus, Ohio, but her start in life was fraught with instability. By the time she was just 3 years old, her mother's struggles made it impossible to care for her 4 children. Simone and her siblings entered the foster care system, living apart from their biological parents during some of their most formative years. It was a difficult beginning that could have derailed a far less determined child. Her grandparents Ron and Nellie Biles stepped in, driving all the way from Texas to take Simone and her sister Audrey into their home. Eventually, they adopted both girls, providing the stability and love that Simone desperately needed. This change planted seeds that would allow her resilience to grow. It was in Spring, Texas, at the age of 6, that Simone's life truly took a pivotal turn. A simple daycare field trip to a nearby gymnastics gym introduced her to a world she might never have entered otherwise. After watching Simone move naturally through the gym, coaches sent a letter home offering an opportunity to train formally. That letter seems small, but in retrospect, it is one of the most consequential moments not just for Simone, but for the history of American gymnastics. By age 8, Simone was already competing in gymnastics. Her exceptional talent was clear very early on, but it was her tremendous work ethic that propelled her forward. Training for 6 days a week, 8 hours a day, became her regular routine. Under the guidance of coach Amy Borman, she trained outside Houston, driven by a rare combination of natural ability and relentless practice. Her progress was meteoric, but the world outside had yet to grasp the magnitude of what was unfolding. At 16, she won her first World Championship all-around title, an achievement marked by poise and technical precision far beyond her years. She repeated this feat at 17, 18, and 19, a streak unheard of in gymnastics. Each year, her performances redefined what was thought possible. Simone's name slowly became like a shortcut for groundbreaking difficulty and near perfection. Moves on the floor exercise, balance beam, and vault started getting called the Biles, so people didn't even bother with all the details, because she was the first or maybe only gymnast doing them in competition. The International Gymnastics Federation then went further and named 7 skills after her, which really was a sign she redrew the sport's physical boundaries, not just a little bit. Under all that spotlight, though, there was a girl who had lived through trauma and instability, and she still managed to keep going thanks to her family and a steady, relentless drive. Her beginnings remind us that big greatness rarely shows up in comfort. It tends to grow from ongoing friction with hardship. The fact that Simone could climb so high after a start that was so shaky, well, it points to an inner strength that wasn't theoretical at all. But even that resilience came with costs that most people never saw. The relentless training started when she was still young, and it started asking for more than anyone could comfortably guess, both physically and mentally. What her earlier life taught her was endurance, yet it didn't fully, I mean completely, prepare her or anyone else for the kind of toll that later arrived. And if you zoom out, her story also shows how one moment, like a letter from a gym, can reroute a life and then, almost like dominoes, an entire sport. Once that early foundation was placed, it's not surprising the gymnastics world couldn't really look away when she surged. Her next chapter was the stretch of years when no one else could match her momentum or her evolution, not for long anyway. Simone's rise stunned the sports world, capturing imaginations everywhere and pushing gymnastics into new, uncharted territory. Rise to unmatched dominance. Simone Biles' ascent in gymnastics was nothing short of revolutionary. By her late teens, she was rewriting the rulebook on what was physically achievable, performing skills that combined power, precision, and complexity unlike anything seen before. Her dominance was not gradual, it was overwhelming. Each competition felt like witnessing history being made. Winning her first World Championship all-around title at 16 was just the beginning. She defended that title 3 more times in a row, at 17, 18, and 19. Such consistency and technical mastery created a new standard for the sport. While others chased her, Simone set a pace no one could match. Her vaults, balance beam routines, and floor exercises carried a unique signature. The Biles on floor and vault involved twists and flips so complex that no other gymnast had dared to attempt them in competition. The International Gymnastics Federation officially named these moves after her, a rare honor that cements her legacy in the sport's history. The 2016 Rio Olympics were a coronation for Simone. She won 4 gold medals and 1 bronze, dominating in a way that made the American team appear in a league of their own. Her victories translated into a ticker-tape parade in New York City and endorsement deals that elevated her to cultural icon status. She seemed untouchable, a once-in-a-generation athlete whose story was breathtaking. Coaches analyzed every frame of her vaults and spins, scientists published papers on her extraordinary spatial awareness, and young gymnasts across continents pinned her photos to their bedroom walls. Simone represented an ideal many aspired to but few truly understood: the fusion of talent, willpower, and sheer physical capacity pushed beyond previous limits. This rapid rise to the pinnacle brought intense scrutiny and expectation. Simone was now carrying not just medals but the hopes of an entire sport and nation. The world started to believe she was built differently, a notion reinforced by every flawless routine and record-setting move. The narrative solidified: Simone was beyond human. Behind this story, however, were countless hours of brutal training and sacrifice, a relentless program that demanded physical and mental sacrifices few could imagine. Every victory deepened the pressure to perform, to keep pushing boundaries even further. The summit of greatness came with a steep, often hidden cost. Her period of unmatched dominance transformed gymnastics and athleticism forever. Yet it also set the stage for the challenges and struggles that would later come into stark relief. What appeared invincible on the surface was carrying cracks underneath, waiting for the moment they might show. Simone's incredible rise invites us to celebrate her achievements, but also to question what it means when an athlete's body and mind are pushed so far that the price becomes too high to pay. The story of her dominance is inseparable from the story of what came after. Even the most breathtaking victories hold shadows, and soon those shadows would demand attention. The intensity of Simone's journey from detractors and doubters to icon and champion would soon collide with a more human reckoning. The toll on the body: Simone Biles's physical prowess came at a cost few could fully see or understand. Elite artistic gymnastics demands a level of endurance and durability that defies common athletic standards, but it is not the result of a single moment of trauma. Instead, the damage accumulates slowly over time, like an invisible ledger recording every punishing landing and every twist. Her body absorbed thousands of impacts on ankles, knees, and a spine forced to rotate and compress in ways no other sport requires.